Hi everyone, it's me again. Today I'll be talking a little bit about vignette techniques and how you can get R to do the work for you, or to make it more exciting, how to get R to generate love letters for you. So, just for all the social psychologists and all the sociologists and everyone listening, vignette techniques are stimuli that are more text-based usually, and these texts that you present to your participants, they have a few factors in there that you're systematically going to want to variate. And so you have like a text, for example, let's say it's a text about homelessness, and you want to have participants tell you what their opinions on homelessness are. And maybe they'll respond differently if for example, the homeless person that you're describing to them has different characteristics. So for example, you might say the homeless person is male and they are at an older age and they look like they have alcohol problems. But you could also present to your participants the text, the homeless person is female, might be of a different age, and looks like they have drug problems or other problems. And then you ask your participants, okay, so what do they think about this, and how willing does that make them make the person to help? So that would, for example, be an example for a vignette. But of course, you can also use this technique for all sorts of questions. And yeah, I will show you how to do this in R because, of course, if you have a lot of different characteristics in the vignette, so in our case, gender of the homeless person, their age, whether they have some sort of addictions or problems, but you might have more factors still. And then if you're wanting to show all the different variations to your participants, it gets a lot to write it all out yourself and make sure that you don't make any mistakes or don't have anything double. So today I'm going to show you an example of how to do that, and as a fun example, I've brought you a love letter. We're going to automate love letters. If, like me, haha, you constantly are writing love letters. So let's say you want to generate this like a love letter and you've written out this. So dear so-and-so, I am writing you this letter just to tell you how happy you make me, or how much I love you, or how much I enjoy spending time with you. Last night I couldn't help but think of you all night, dream of us together, or write a long diary entry about how much I love you. I just want to have babies with you, kiss you all over, dance with no space for Jesus. Shocking, I know. For our next date, we should totally go stargazing, feed stray puppies, go to the cinema and watch a rom-com, or have a candlelight dinner. Lots of love, and then obviously your name. So we can get R to generate these love letters for us and have like a lot of variety. You can, of course, write your own with more options, but basically you'll have a never-ending supply of love letters. First thing, we're going to open R, and the fun thing about this is you don't need any packages. All you really need is, yeah, just the blank R. You don't even need to set a working directory unless you later want to have it output in a nice Word or text or whatever file. Anyway, let's not preoccupy ourselves with that. First thing we're going to do is write out the different, let's call them factors or variables. So for example, we have this part about how the person makes you feel. So let's call that feelings, and we're going to make it a vector. And so it's going to be how happy you me. That's the first item on the vector. How much I love you. And the third option is how much I enjoy spending time with you. Great. The next one is, let's call it night, because it's about what you were doing last night. And that again is a vector. So we have, I'll just copy this. Remember to put commas in and not have any spaces in the front. Great, let's check whether that worked out. Nice. So, and the next factor or variable, whatever we have, is what you want, the whole thing with the babies and stuff. Let's call that variable want. Once again, it's a vector. Okay, and the last one that I have, you can of course have more, is the next date. So and keep in mind, you now have 4 factors and you have 3 on the first 3 and 4 options on the last one. So that means you will be able to make how many individual options? Yes, you have to calculate 3 times 3 times 4, so 27 times 4, that's 108 different individual love letters. Your boos are all not going to have a clue about this. Lovely. Okay, so let's already read all these there, and then we have these 3 values. Now, the next thing you're going to want to do is all the text in between that doesn't change. So I'm going to call these P1 to I don't know how many. P1 is just dear. Because afterwards you're going to write in your boo's name, right? So all you need is dear. Part 2 is I am writing this letter just to tell you. Part 3 comes after the next section. So that's the full stop. And last night I just couldn't help but and notice how here I am putting in spaces. You could, of course, also do it without spaces, but it gets quite difficult then with punctuation. And of course, you want to write a well-punctuated love letter. Am I right? Yes. I'll explain the significance of that in a second. I just want to five. Okay. And also to make it easy on yourself at this point, it's also totally fine to have parts with where you hit the enter sign. So, for example, here, this part spans a few lines, but that's fine. Okay. Just to have it completely correct, this is also one because you're going to insert the name here in front of part 2. So dear whoever, comma, new line, I am writing. Exactly. So let's read in all this. Now, just to get the simple structure, you have 4 factors up here. So what you're going to do is you're going to write a loop with 4 loops. You're going to write 4 for loops that are nested within each other. So how do we do this? For, remember to put this I in feelings, close that parenthesis, first bracket is open. Then for J in night, next brackets are open. For K in want, next brackets. Oh, little mistake. There we go. And then for L in date. So now think for a moment for yourself why you might be doing this. I'm gonna give you a hint. So the correct answer is because you want a complete randomization here of all the options. So you don't always want, for example, the happiness part to always be associated with the think of you all night, but for example, you want the happiness part up here also to occasionally be with dream of us together or the other one. So you really want all your options to be on the table to have those complete 108 love letters in this case. And what you're going to do next for just to check that you have all the possibilities is to concatenate these. So the cat function just puts all those bits of text together. So if we ignore the name part for now, this is just sort of to check for us whether it all worked. So you're going to write P1 and then I, 2, J, P3, K, P4, L, P5. Oh, sorry, JKLP5. Oh yeah, sorry, that's where I made the mistake because we're going to ignore the thing now. Or we could like insert a random link. So as example, say your boo is called John. Now we're just going to generate all those letters to John as the first thing, just so that we can check that we're on the right track. I, J, A, L, E6. And now what you're going to write is we're going to separate this by nothing at all. Because you could also like put in, for example, that you want a new line to be started every time, but that just makes the letter very awkward to read, and your boo will totally know that you used some sort of generator for this. Okay, so this is the very simple loops that will already generate all 108 letters for us, hopefully. Okay, and let's have a look at this. I'm going to make this full screen. Yeah, it looks like we have all 108. And yeah, here we have no space for Jesus, streaming, how much I love you, candlelight dinner. Here's the cinema. So yes, it looks like it has worked. But of course, you don't want to send John 108 love letters. Instead, you want to randomize this and make it as easy as possible for yourself. So what we're going to do is we're going to turn this into a function. I am going to call this function love letter. And remember, you have to put function as an input for the function. You want to have the name. The name will be the input thing. More your function doesn't even need. We need another curly bracket here and another one at the bottom. We're going to change things up a little bit because in order for all of for just to have one letter at the end that is presented to you, we need to store everything in a vector, and from that vector we are going to have it randomized. So first thing, to make a vector, and say you want to still change things up there, is that you want the vector to be of an unspecified length, and from that's going to be chosen. So you need to make vector is as vector rep, and there's nothing in the vector for now, so you can just put NA. Now another thing that you need is a counter, and the counter, it's going to be at 0 for the start. Yeah, just because it's round 0 before the starts. And if you want to make things easy for yourself, this is a step that is not necessarily needed, is that you just put in a shorthand for the name. Good. So that's as far as that goes. We are going to change a little bit now in the for loops. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to up the counter. So counter equals counter plus 1. And now we're going to fill the vector. The vector is going to be vector at position counter. And that's going to be, and in order for us not to get the output every single time, we're going to use a slightly different function. Instead of the cat function, the concatenate function, we're just going to use paste. Great. Now we're almost done because we still have to specify the output. I'll write it here, of course, since the function is going to ask you, you just put A. So what we want to do now is we want to have an output. After all of this is done, our vector now has its 108 or how many different letters stored in the vector. Now you are going to have a cat function. And what you want to have now is you have used the sample function in order for it to make a random selection from the vector. And we just want one letter to be output. Now you can also output a file. You can say, oh, you want to have it directly to a text file. So then you would have file equals .txt. But yeah, you don't really need that. I'm just going to have it like this. Okay. So now it's time to read in our function. And all you need to do now is write love letter. And we're going to address this love letter to Gregory. And there you have it, a random letter for your boo, Gregory. So thank you very much for watching. I hope this helped. And of course, remember that this can also be used as a vignette generator. This is not just a love letter generator. Thank you for watching and see you next time.